They told you the ground beneath you was solid, that the stone you touch could never lie, that your own flesh was proof of permanence. Yet these are only the painted walls of a theater, convincing enough to hold you in its story, but no more real than a shadow on water. Matter is not the bedrock of existence. It is a dance of motion, a choreography so swift the eye mistakes it for stillness. The mountains you think eternal, the oceans that seem to breathe on their own, the far stars that puncture the night, all are not made of matter, but of mind. Mind in motion. You have been looking not at the source, but at the reflection cast upon the thin skin of perception. Consider a stone, not a thing, but a frozen wave, a crest of vibration arrested for a moment in the ocean of frequency. Your bones, your blood, your brain, they are currents, not statues. Their movement is beyond the reach of your senses, so you call them solid. Yet the senses are poor custodians of truth. They translate the boundless into the bearable, the infinite into symbols. They do not show you what is, they show you only what you can endure. And so, you have forgotten the deeper intimacy, that you are not a traveler upon the earth, but the earth observing itself, the stars contemplating their own fire. You are not sculpted from matter, but from light. Light held in form by thought, animated by a mind that spans the entire cosmos. This is no metaphor and no mystic's riddle. It is the first truth, older than stone or fire. When you are ready to lift the veil, to see past the convincing dream, the journey back begins. And in that journey, you will learn that what we call solid is only light under tension, compressed into patterns by invisible laws, woven into shapes for a brief time before returning to the formless. True light is not the warmth of the sun on your skin, nor the pale flicker caught by your eyes. Those are echoes, shadows of the real thing. Light is not what is seen, it is that which sees. It is the first pulse, the primal rhythm, the silent will moving across the stillness of infinity. It is not wave, not particle, not speed. It is being itself, knowing itself. From this still source, the motion of creation is born. Everything you have ever touched, every breath you have taken, every thought that has crossed the dim corridors of your mind, each is light-shaped into temporary architecture. Atoms are not miniature marbles. They are points of motion, spirals of appearance and disappearance, waves folding in upon themselves. There is no solidity, only rhythm. The ground beneath your feet, the air in your lungs, the fire of your thoughts, light in various disguises. Light does not simply illuminate, it arranges, patterns, instructs. It knows where to move and how to balance itself. When light decompresses, it becomes breath, release, movement. This is why the universe expands and contracts, why stars are born and die, why your own heart marks time with its beating, compression and expansion, light in, light out, the heartbeat of creation itself. And you, yes, you, are part of that wave, not a bystander watching light move, but light beholding its own reflection, not an observer of reality, but its sculptor. As you begin to look again, not with the eyes, but with the quiet awareness behind them, the illusion falters, the truth takes shape, and you will see everything is light, and light is alive. If light is the fabric from which all creation is cut, then what hand draws it taut? What loom weaves it into shape? The answer does not lie in some remote star field or the cryptic symbols of an equation. It is closer than your breath. The loom is mind, not the fleeting chatter of personal thought, not the restless theater of memory and worry, but the universal mind, the silent architect that breathes form into the formless. It belongs to no single creature, for it is the cosmos itself. Aware, this mind does not observe from a distance. It is the act of creation in motion, the galaxy spiraling into birth, the forest unfolding in green silence, the atom trembling at the edge of invisibility. Each is a thought given shape. Creation is not a relic of the past. It is now, continuous as your own heartbeat, endless as the tides. The universe dreams itself into light, and you are not separate from this dream. You are inside it, and you are it. There is no line between thinker and thought, between the sculptor and the clay. The same mind that orders the path of planets shapes the pulse of your inner life. Every breath you take, every spark of inspiration, every sudden pull toward an idea, these are not private accidents. They are the same force that arranges the stars, focused through the lens of your being. You do not see reality as it is. You see it as you are. The image you hold, the belief you nourish, the fear you feed. These bend the field around you, drawing experience toward you like metal to a magnet. This is not superstition. It is design. What you concentrate upon grows in shape and gravity. What you fear, you lend power to. What you love moves toward you. Mind is the engine of reality, not trapped inside the boundaries of bone, but a living current that flows through all that is. It does not simply witness, it shapes. It compresses light into matter, forms structures out of the unseen, and when attention is withdrawn, it releases them back to the field. Every thought is a sculptor's hand, every emotion a silent architect. The blueprint lies within you, and reality responds not to idle wishes, but to the clarity of the signal you send. You are not here to drift in the wake of the world. You are here to move with it, to shape it as it shapes you. To think is to create. To feel is to mold. To know is to direct the very current of existence. And once you grasp that every moment is a thought unfolding, the question of what is real begins to dissolve. Reality is not fixed, not waiting in some static vault to be discovered. It is a mirror, silvered by the mind that beholds it. The trees, the streets, the strangers crossing your path, all are light given form by thought. And the thought is yours. If balance is the law of the universe, then polarity is the instrument through which that law is played. All movement is born of two opposing forces, not enemies locked in combat, but partners in an eternal dance. The cosmos itself breathes in this dual rhythm. Light surges and retreats, waves rise and fall, currents push and pull. Walter Russell saw it clearly. The twin pillars of existence are electricity and magnetism, two faces of one indivisible force. Electricity is the outward breath, the radiant motion that divides and expands. It sends the light forward into space, stretching the fabric of creation toward experience. It is the current of initiation, of action, of the masculine principle in motion. Magnetism is the inward breath, the quiet hand that gathers what has been scattered. It contracts, restores, binds. It is the feminine principle of return, the pull back into center. Without one, the other cannot be. Without both, nothing could hold its shape. This is why a seed reaches upward toward the sun even as its roots dig downward into shadow. Why the heart tightens and then releases. Why galaxies spiral and atoms remain whole. Electricity shapes, magnetism sustains. One paints the illusion of separation. The other reveals the unity beneath. Creation is not the stacking of matter upon matter. It is the polarization of light, made visible only when the two forces meet in perfect tension. When polarization ends, form dissolves, not into death, but into the formless womb of stillness, awaiting rebirth. You too are built upon this law. Your body is an electromagnetic field. Your every thought is a wave between poles. Each time you feel the pull between action and stillness, between giving and receiving, you stand at the living crossroads of the universe. You are not trapped between the forces. You are their point of union, the zero of balance. When you push too far into one direction, the other awakens to restore you. Action gives way to rest, expansion to contraction. This is not punishment, but homecoming. And when you learn to feel this swing, to move with it rather than resist, you stop being a passenger and become the conductor. You know when to surge forward, when to gather in, when to speak, when to fall silent. The ancients understood this harmony. They lived in it as naturally as they breathed. They knew that energy must flow, that light does not travel in straight lines but spirals, that neither pole is superior to the other. Modern science split electricity and magnetism into separate studies, but the universe never made that division. In truth, no energy exists apart from its opposite. Every outward motion is met by an inward call. Every blaze of power finds its echo in stillness. To live in awareness of this is to see the beauty of the swing, the perfection of the oscillation. Electricity alone will burn you. Magnetism alone will still you. But together, they will carry you. For centuries, humanity has lived as a creature of the senses, trusting the eyes to see, the ears to hear, the skin to feel. We were taught that to touch was to know, that what could be measured was truth. Upon this, we built cities, carved the shape of science, and wove entire civilizations. But the senses are skilled deceivers, not maliciously, but by their very design. They do not reveal reality, they interpret it. They offer not the world itself, but its symbols, painted in colors your nervous system can endure. The eye does not truly see. It translates frequencies into images the mind can accept. The ear does not truly hear. It converts vibration into the illusion of sound. The hand never touches matter. It meets only fields of resistance. You do not stand in direct contact with reality. You stand in contact with its projection. And so the surface seduces you, while the source goes unnoticed. This is why, in spite of progress and power, a quiet emptiness hums beneath our days. We have traded essence for appearance, substance for simulation. Walter Russell spoke of the Great Transition, the evolution from the sensing man to the knowing man. This is not an increase of data, nor a sharper intellect, but a rebirth of perception, a breaking of the mirror that hides the source. To know is not to gather facts, but to pierce the veil and see the unity beneath all form. To know is to feel the same light shaping the tree, the star, and the beating of your own heart. To know is to remember that you have always been part of one living field. This awakening does not come through seeking, but through surrender. You loosen your grip on the senses, quiet the inner noise, and step into the still chamber beyond thought. There, the universal mind speaks, not in words, but in presence, not in sound, but in a sudden clarity that needs no proof. It arrives not as an argument, but as recognition. Every great leap of creation, every poem that sings itself into an artist's hand, every discovery that lights a scientist's mind, has come in this way, as reception, not pursuit. In the stillness, the personal mind aligns with the universal rhythm, and knowing flows like light into the open space. It is not a process of grasping, but of becoming the very frequency you seek. When you step from sensing into knowing, you cease to live as a fragment in a world of fragments. You begin to move as a field, connected to every being, every place, every time. The distances collapse, the barriers fade. You are no longer chasing truth, you are vibrating as it. And in that vibration, creation becomes effortless, for you are no longer forcing the current. You are the current. When the final veil falls, the illusion of separation crumbles like ash in a silent wind. You no longer imagine yourself a solitary traveler wandering through a cold and accidental cosmos. You no longer cling to the fragile mask of your name, your history, your fleeting thoughts. You begin to see, truly see, that there has never been a line between you and the world, between the breath in your chest and the breath of the stars. The boundary between self and other dissolves, and in its place rises the unshakable knowing. You are not in the universe. You are the universe aware of itself. The stars are not distant. They burn in the marrow of your bones. The oceans do not simply lap at the edges of continents. They surge through the tides of your blood. The fire that forges galaxies is the same fire that shapes each heartbeat. The force that holds planets in their courses is the same will that shapes your thoughts into form. God and creation, dancer and dance, dreamer and dream. There is no separation. The elements of your body were born in the collapse of ancient suns. The air you draw in was exhaled by forests you have never seen. There is no distance, only continuity. When this becomes more than a beautiful thought, when it becomes a lived knowing, everything changes. You cease to move from fear, for alignment has replaced control. You stop seeking purpose, for purpose is no longer a destination. It is your state of being. You no longer chase wholeness, for you stand at its unmoving center. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in the shape of a drop, flowing briefly into form. Others, too, shift in your sight. They are no longer strangers, competitors, or obstacles. They are mirrors, each one carrying the same light refracted through a different angle. Their fears echo your own. Their joys remind you of your own birthright. Judgment fades. Comparison dissolves. Compassion is no longer a moral choice. It is as natural as breathing. You speak differently, no longer as a fragment trying to be heard, but as the field itself. I am, you say, not as a boast, but as a recognition that needs no further words. You feel it in the silence behind your eyes, in the still space beneath all movement. You are the fire behind all sight, the stillness under every wave, the formless light momentarily wearing your shape. And with this, the greatest truth returns. You have never been small, never powerless, never a mistake. You have always been creating, each thought a brushstroke, each belief a foundation stone, each emotion a vibration shaping the air around you. The world is not happening to you. It is happening through you. Reality radiates from the inside out. You are not a student begging for truth. You are the place where truth comes to meet itself. And once you see this, once you feel it in the marrow of your being, there is no going back. You are free. Not because the world has changed, but because you now know you are the light that reveals it. And then, as the light within steadies, as the great swing of motion eases into its center, you enter the final quiet, not the silence of absence, but the silence of presence. There is no reaching now, no restless searching. You are here, aware, awake, alive. You are the breath and the space that holds it, the wave and the ocean from which it rises. You are no longer a seeker of truth. You are the truth remembering itself. The mind you once called your own was never separate. It was the universal mind wearing your face, dreaming through your senses. And now, as the dream resolves into clarity, only one truth remains. You are the light, the rhythm, the field, the force. The world you experience is not fixed. It is shaped by your gaze, sculpted by your thought, born in each moment from the attention you give it. In this stillness, balance is not an achievement. It is your nature. You see that every inhale has always been met by an exhale, every rise by a return. The pendulum no longer frightens you, for you are not clinging to one side. You are the axis it swings upon. You are not carried by the current. You are the current. And because you no longer resist, life flows without friction. The streets, the stars, the passing eyes of strangers, all are you, seen from 1,000 different angles. There is no other left to confront or convince. Even conflict, when it arises, is only the dance of light meeting light. Fear becomes a shadow without substance. Desire becomes a movement of the whole, not a grasping of the part. From here, every act is sacred because every act is alignment. To speak is to let the field sound through you. To be silent is to hold the still chord from which all sound springs. To move is to let the wave rise. To rest is to let it fall. There is no waste in this rhythm, no action that is not also a return. You breathe, and creation breathes with you. You are not waiting for a better moment, a safer time, a sign from beyond. This breath, this now, is the axis of all existence. To know this is to step fully into the role you were born for, not a passenger, not a witness, but a creator. You are not apart from the divine, nor on a quest to reach it. You are the divine in motion, the source discovering itself through your eyes. And in that knowing, the journey does not end. It begins again, with the quiet power of one who has finally come home. If the stillness is the center, then the motion that spirals from it obeys a code older than stars, a law not written in books or carved in stone, but etched into the very breath of the cosmos. You can hear it in the tide's slow chant, see it in the rise and fall of clouds, feel it in the push and pull of your own heartbeat. This is the pulse of creation, an endless giving and returning, an eternal circulation of force between two poles. It is not enforced by decree, but by necessity. Without it, nothing can endure. Every act of creation is born of this exchange. Electricity presses outward, painting the canvas of space with movement and form. Magnetism draws inward, gathering the scattered pieces back into the whole. One is the fire that expands the universe. The other, the gravity that holds it together. They do not oppose. They complete. Together, they weave every spiral, every orbit, every living form. Within you, this same dance unfolds in miniature. Your thoughts radiate like sparks. Your emotions draw like tides. Every choice is a step between giving and receiving, between action and rest. When you push too far into one current, the other awakens, not to punish, but to bring you home to balance. The law is impersonal, yet intimately present in every breath you take. To ignore it is to fracture. Civilizations that only expand without pause will crumble. Lives that only strive without stillness will collapse. The law does not bend for will or desire. It bends only to itself. The wise do not fight it. They move with it, adjusting their pace to the cosmic swing. They know that to take is also to give, that to lead is also to follow, that to rise is also to bow. Polarity is not a prison. It is a doorway. It shows you that energy is not meant to be hoarded, but cycled. that light does not travel in straight lines, but in spirals, that the same breath that fuels a star fuels the smallest seed. And when you understand this, you stop resisting the return. You welcome the inward draw as much as the outward surge. You see the beauty in the swing, the necessity in the ebb, the perfection in the pause, for electricity alone will burn you. Magnetism alone will still you. But together they will move you, lift you, and carry you across the bridge from mere existence into creation itself. Beneath the noise of the senses lies a light that does not flicker, a sun that does not rise or set. It is not the light that your eyes can catch, nor the warmth that touches your skin. It is the light that sees through your eyes, the fire that animates your every breath. This inner sun has never been absent, only veiled by the restless play of perception. You have mistaken its glow for the reflections on the surface, chasing shadows while the source waited in silence. The senses tell you stories, convincing and urgent. They offer a painted world, vivid yet incomplete, where distance and division seem absolute. But the senses are translators, not witnesses. They take the raw music of reality and break it into notes you can bear to hear. The truth, whole and unbroken, must be approached differently, not through grasping, but through surrender. Knowing begins when the noise falls away, not the knowing of intellect, weighed down with facts and conclusions, but the knowing that arrives in stillness, clear, wordless, undeniable. It is the recognition that all forms are woven from the same living thread of light, moved by the same pulse, held in the same breath. The tree and the star, the river and your heartbeat, each is a variation of one eternal song. You do not gain this knowing by searching for it as if it were lost. You gain it by ceasing to search, by opening the space within for it to reveal itself. It has always been there, waiting for you to stop running from silence. In that pause, the universal mind speaks, not in language, but in presence. A current moves through you, luminous and still, and you understand without effort. From that point, creation changes shape. No longer an act of force or manipulation, it becomes resonance. Your thoughts hum in rhythm with the field. Your intentions flow without resistance, not because you are controlling reality, but because you have become coherent with it. Manifestation is no longer a reaching, it is a recognition. When the inner sun awakens fully, you cease to live as a shadow among shadows. You live as light among light. You move not as an isolated self, but as a field, touching all things without leaving your place. And in that radiant stillness, you remember, you were never meant to survive by senses alone. You were meant to see with the whole of your being, to know with the whole of your soul, to burn with the light that was always yours. When the inner light rises to its full height, it dissolves the last borders the mind once swore were real. You no longer carry the illusion of being a solitary fragment, adrift in a vast and indifferent sea. The truth stands before you, like an endless mirror. There is no gap between the seer and the seen, no barrier between thought and the world it shapes. The self you clung to as me reveals itself as a temporary mask worn by something immeasurable. You begin to feel the stars not as distant fires, but as sparks moving within your own veins. The oceans become the slow breath of your blood, the forests the silent chambers of your lungs. The same rhythm that turns galaxies also turns the thoughts in your mind. There is no separation between God and creation, between wave and sea, between dancer and dance. All is one. not as metaphor or poetry, but as the architecture of existence. When this knowing takes root, the endless seeking ceases. You no longer strive to become whole. You realize you have never been otherwise. You are not chasing purpose. You are its embodiment. You are not a drop lost in the ocean. You are the ocean, gathered for a moment into the form of a drop. Alignment replaces control. Collaboration replaces resistance. You do not force the current. You flow as it. Others reflect differently in this light. The stranger's eyes no longer hide an other, but a familiar fire wearing another shape. Their pain is your pain, their joy your own heartbeat. Judgment loses its grip. Comparison dissolves. Compassion ceases to be an effort and becomes the way of breath itself, natural, effortless, inevitable. In this state, your voice carries a different weight. You no longer speak to convince or to claim. You speak as the field itself, the I am that needs no adornment. You feel it vibrate through bone and sky alike, the silent truth that stands unchanged beneath every passing form. And so the greatest truth is no longer a distant teaching. It is your lived reality. You are not small, not powerless, not accidental. Every thought you have ever held has shaped the world around you. Every feeling has bent the field. The universe has never been something happening to you. It has always been something happening through you. And now you know this, not as a concept, but as the pulse of your own being. You are the light and the mirror, the wave and the shore. As the last illusions dissolve, reality no longer appears as something out there, separate and inert. You see it now as a mirror, fluid, responsive, alive, reflecting the shape of your inner state with unerring precision. Every movement of thought sends ripples through this field. Every pulse of emotion colors the light it returns to you. The world is not a stage you walk across. It is the luminous echo of your own being. This knowing does not inflate you with pride. It humbles you. For if what you see is born from what you are, then nothing is meaningless. Every quiet resentment, every unspoken gratitude, every fleeting vision shapes the weave. You cannot blame the reflection for the image it shows. You can only choose the image you cast. Creation has never been about control or conquest. It has always been about coherence, about becoming a clear signal in the midst of the universal hum. You understand now why chaos follows a mind in turmoil and why grace flows from a heart in balance. The field does not judge, it simply answers. It mirrors without preference, without pause. And the more you align with its natural rhythms, the more effortlessly life unfolds. Effort gives way to ease, not because challenges vanish, but because you no longer stand against the current. You have become the current. In this state, even silence becomes an act of creation. The space between words shapes meaning as surely as the words themselves. The pause between breaths holds the same power as the breath. You begin to live as a sculptor of both presence and absence, giving shape not only to what is expressed, but to what is left unspoken. Here, giving and receiving lose their edges, blending into a single flow. You find yourself releasing as naturally as you gather, acting as naturally as you rest. The pendulum swings, but you are no longer caught in its motion. You are the axis it moves around. This is balance not as discipline, but as your native state. And so you walk through the world differently. Your eyes meet others not to measure, but to recognize. Your steps no longer chase, but carry. The mirror no longer frightens you with its exactness. It frees you. For now you see that reality is not a fixed wall of circumstance, but but a living conversation between your being and the infinite. And in that conversation, you are both the voice and the echo, the question and the answer, the dream and the dreamer. And now, as the current steadies, there is no longer a path to follow, only the vast stillness of arrival, not stillness as emptiness, but as fullness so complete it needs no movement to prove itself. You are here, and here is everywhere. You are now, and now is forever. The journey you thought would end has only shed its disguise, revealing itself as the eternal turning of the same luminous wheel. The universal mind is no longer something you seek. It is the ground you stand on, the breath you take, the awareness that takes the breath. Every thought, every flicker of intent, every heartbeat is a thread in the infinite weave. You see now that you were never a visitor in this world. You were always its pulse, its rhythm, its center. The distance between creator and creation has vanished. They are one movement, one field, one living presence. From this place, you no longer strain to hold balance. It holds you. You no longer fear the swing of polarity. You move with it as naturally as your lungs draw air. You rise when the wave rises. You fall when it falls. And in both, you remain untouched at the axis. This is the law beneath all laws, the rhythm behind all forms, the knowing that dissolves all doubt. When you look upon the world now, you see only your own light, refracted into countless shapes. The stranger passing you on the street is a mirror. The tree bending in the wind is a mirror. The stars scattering the night are mirrors. Not metaphors, not symbols, mirrors of the same essence you feel in your own being. Compassion ceases to be an act and becomes your nature, for to harm another would be to wound yourself. The mind no longer asks, "What is real?" For it knows there is no separation between the knower and the known. The heart no longer asks, "Where is home?" For it lives in the center of every moment. Time no longer feels like a river that carries you away. It is the still pool in which all motion reflects. And so you breathe, not as a body keeping itself alive, but as life itself breathing through the body. You speak, not to be heard, but to let the field express its harmony in sound. You act, not to force an outcome, but to allow creation to unfold in its own perfect arc. You are no longer a fragment, no longer a seeker, no longer a shadow chasing the sun. You are the sun, the shadow, and the space in which both arise. This is not the end, it is the infinite beginning. The breath drawn at the dawn of creation is still moving through you now, and with every inhale and exhale, you create anew. You are the source, discovering itself in 1,000 forms, forever returning to the same truth. There has only ever been light, and you have always been it.